actually studied a bit of it in our previous classes. Now we're going to delve into details. Once upon a time in a classroom filled with curious kids, there was a special friend named Globey. Globey wasn't an ordinary friend. He was a magical globe that could spin and talk. One day, as the teacher introduced the wonders of geography, Globey decided that it was time for an adventure. With a spin and a twirl, Globey whisked the children away on a journey around the world. There was just snowy mountains, sandy desert, green jungles. Globey shared tales of different countries, language and traditions, making learning an exciting and magical experience. As the adventure continued, Globey taught the children about the imaginary lines on the surface called latitude and longitude. Now, the latitude and longitude are the imaginary lines on the globe. They learn how these lines help people find places on the big map on the world because they help us find the exact location on the map, on the globe. The children were amazed to discover that Globey held the key to unlocking the mysteries of far-off lands. After the adventure, the children returned to their classroom with a newfound love for the world. With its diverse wonders, Globey had not only been their guide, but also their friend, turning learning into a fantastic journey. So who is Globey? A new friend. What makes them special in the story? The Globey here helps children find the latitude and longitude. Name one type of place that children visited during the adventure with Globey. They visited snowy mountains, sandy desert, green jungle. What are the imaginary lines on the globe surface called? The imaginary lines on the surface of the globe are known as latitude and longitude. Now, for a very long time, people thought that the earth was flat and had edges. They were afraid of traveling far towards the edges. They feared that they would fall off the edges. ऐसा सोचा जाता था. But the fact is that the earth is round and shaped. ये बाद में पता चला, discover हुआ. No matter how far you will go, you will never fall from the earth as it has no edges. Earth की कोई edges ही नहीं है. It is circular in shape. So you must have seen a globe in your classroom. See, you must have seen this globe in your classroom or anywhere in your school. What is the significance? Let's study that. A globe is a true model of Earth, which is the simplest and the most accurate way to represent the Earth. The globe से हम accurate way को Earth को represent कर सकते हैं. Globes जो होंगे different size और types के आते हैं. They can be big ones which cannot be carried easily, while they can be small ones which you can actually carry. They can be pocket globes, and there can be globes like balloons which can be inflated and handy and can be carried to the beach. So आप उसमें हवा भर सकते हो, साथ में ले जा सकते हो, हवा निकाल सकते हो, and then you can carry it easily, right? On a globe, countries, continents, and oceans are shown in a more correct way. So, but a globe has limitations. Why? Because we cannot show major landforms, natural vegetation, etc. on a globe. It would be difficult to make and carry or store a large size globe. So, globe is the best representation of the whole world on a small scale. So, it has major limitations as well. Now, if we talk of the first ever globe that was made by Martin Bingham in 1492 AD, and the year when Columbus discovered the New World, the globe had a radius of 50 centimeters. Now, how do we find a place on the earth? Grid जो होता है, it is a series of crossing lines using the locating places on a map or a globe. Now, it is difficult to describe the location of a point on a sphere like the earth because there are no corners, no sides, no beginnings, no ends. तो हम कोई exact location बतानी है तो कैसे बनाएंगे? इसे समझने के लिए let's study how are we going to locate a particular place on a globe. We need certain points of reference and lines to find out the location of places. The needle which is fixed through the globe is in a tilted manner is called the axis. जो needle fixed है globe पे और tilted manner में उसे axis कहते हैं. Axis is imaginary line है and the earth rotate through around this axis from west to east. तो हमें ये याद रखना है that axis is an imaginary line and the earth rotates from west to east and midway between these poles lies the equator. अब इक्वेटर का क्या काम है? What is the role of equator? Equator basically divides the earth into two hemispheres, two equal hemispheres, two parts, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. So we draw one series of lines from the north pole to the south pole and these are called lines of meridians or longitudes. हम जो होते हैं अब हम दो चीज पढ़ेंगे. We'll be studying the longitudes and we'll be studying the latitudes, right? So we said what is equator? Equator divides the country in two equal halves, northern hemisphere and southern hemisphere. Then what are longitudes? Longitudes and what are latitudes? We are going to study this in details. Now if we study that the lines or meridians or the lines that are drawn from north to south, they are longitude. From east to west, they are latitude. So this is what we studied. So if we know lines of latitude and lines of longitude, then we can it helps us determine the location of any point on the earth, right? Now, what are latitude? Let's study this in detail. You've already read that the axis of the earth joins the north pole and the south pole, और axis जो है वो north pole को south pole के साथ जोड़ता है. Equator divides the earth. जैसे ये equator है, you can see this, can you? Okay, yeah, this divides the earth into two hemispheres, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Latitude is the angular distance of a given point from the equator. So latitude क्या है? Angular distance of a given point from the equator. These lines of latitude are drawn round the circle parallel to the equal circles which grow smaller and smaller from the equator to the poles. The circle is largest at the equator and the equator is the greater circle on the earth. But at the poles it is merely a point. अगर हम poles की बात करेंगे तो it is merely a point यहाँ पे, right? Then if we talk about the lines are marked off in an interval of 1 degree north or south up to 90 degrees. The total circumference of earth is 360 degrees and the distance from the equator to either poles is 1/4 of the circumference. Equator से either pole पे जो distance है that is 1/4 of the circumference. There are 90 lines to the north of equator and 90 lines to the south of equator. कितनी lines हैं देखो 0 से 90, 0 से 90. So 90 lines to the north of equator and 90 lines to the north to the south of equator. So in total, how many lines are there? There are 180 parallels of latitude. Clear? Now, it is necessary to mark whether it's now north or south. So if we say 10 degree north, 20 degree north, 30 degree north. So when we are marking latitude, please write north or south for sure. Now, if you measure the angle of pole star from your place, you can know the latitude of the place. So अगर हमें pole star से हमारा distance चलता है तो हमें latitude पता चल जाता है. Now, this is about latitude. Now understand the parallels of latitude. Along with equator, we are going to study four different lines of latitude, right? So what is latitude? Latitude is the angular distance of a given place from the equator. Now, the important parallels of latitude along with the equator, which this is what we are going to study here. We know that Earth axis is inclined at an angle of 23.5 degrees. This inclination has given us four important parallels of latitude in addition to the equator. This is very important यहाँ तो because everything is based on it. So please grasp it nicely. तो अगर हम बात करें parallels of latitude तो हमें 5 parallels पर equator हमने पढ़ लिया. We are going to study 4 more parallels of latitude. First is Tropic of Cancer. Tropic of Cancer, northern hemisphere में, in the northern hemisphere, the parallel of 23.5 degree north is called Tropic of Cancer. अब अगर हम बात करें northern hemisphere में, तो parallel of 23.5 degree north is Tropic of Cancer. It marks the limit, that portion of the earth where the sun's rays fall vertically on June 21. ये हमने पढ़ा था last chapter में, if you remember. Then is Tropic of Capricorn. Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere, the parallel of 23.5 degrees south is called the Tropic of Capricorn. It marks the limit of that portion where the sun rays fall vertically on December 22. We studied about winter and summer solstice, right? Then Arctic Circle. The parallel of 66.5 degree north is called the Arctic Circle. Everywhere within the circle, there is at least one day during its summer when the sun does not set. Arctic Circle में एक दिन ऐसा होता है जब सूरज ढलता ही नहीं है, right? Then is the Antarctic Circle. The parallel of 66.5 degrees south is known as Antarctic Circle for the sake of convenience. These regions lie between the equator and 30 degree are known as low latitude. Between 30 and 60 mid latitude है और 30 और 60 से ऊपर जो होते हैं वो high latitude. तो आपको क्या याद रखना है Antarctic Circle में? The parallel of 66.5 degrees south is Antarctic Circle. और जो regions होते हैं जो लाई करते हैं इक्वेटर और 30 डिग्री के बीच में वो लो लैटिट्यूड्स होते हैं. जो 30 और 60 डिग्री में होते हैं वो मिड लैटिट्यूड्स होते हैं और जो उससे ऊपर होते हैं वो हाई लैटिट्यूड होते हैं. हम ये पढ़ते हैं क्यों लैटिट्यूड? लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड दैट. We study latitude because we can more or less know the climate of the place by using the latitude. Latitude पढ़ने से उस जगह का climate पता चलता है. जब हमें climate पता चलेगा तो ये भी पता चलेगा कि यहाँ पे कैसा natural vegetation है, कैसी animal life है. So we study about the natural vegetation and the animal life. It also enables us to know the distance of a place from the equator. So latitude से हम angular distance निकालते हैं for a place from the equator and from one latitude to another. The next is, it is very important because it enables us to know the exact location of the place on the surface of the earth. So what are the uses of latitude? Very, very important. Remember, it may be asked as a question also. So latitude is, if we know the latitude, we know the climate of that place. If we know the climate of that place, we know the vegetation and the animal life of that place. If we know the latitude, we know the angular distance of that particular place from the earth. So we can derive the exact location of that place on the surface of the earth. Clear? Now let's move to heat zone. So latitude is clear. Now we move into heat zone. If we, the earth is divided into 3 types of zone on the basis of heat received from the sun. Each of these zones is bounded by imaginary lines that extend around the earth and on both sides of the equator. The first is the torrid zone. Please focus on this diagram. The first is the torrid zone, right? If you see, it stretches between Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north, to Tropic of Capricorn, 23.5 degree south. ये सबसे वाइडेस्ट जोन है. आप देख रहे हो सबसे वाइडेस्ट जोन कौन सा होता है? टॉररेड जोन होता है. इसमें 5 जोन्स आते हैं. Within this zone, the sun is overhead twice a year and the length of the day is practically the same. That is why it is the hottest part of the earth. Half of the India lies in this zone. So if we talk of torrid zone lies between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. It is the widest of all these 5 zones. So ये सारे 5 zones से सबसे ज़्यादा important वाइड कौन सा है? आपका टॉरिड जोन जो होता है इसमें सन ओवरहेड होता है और डे का जो लेंथ होता है इज प्रैक्टिकली सेम एवरीवेयर एंड हाफ ऑफ द इंडिया दैट लाइज बिटवीन टॉरिड जोन. अब टेम्परेट जोन की बात करें, इट लाइज बिटवीन द टॉरिड जोन एंड द फ्रिजिड जोन. द एरिया, द जोन दैट लाइज इन टॉरिड जोन एंड द फ्रिजिड जोन is called the temperate zone. So in this zone the climate is moderate because sun is never overhead in this zone but always shines at this land. तो यहाँ पे climate moderate रहता है because sun overhead नहीं shine करता है. फ्रिजिड जोन की बात करें तो इसके भी 2 पार्ट्स है, द नॉर्थ फ्रिजिड जोन एंड द साउथ फ्रिजिड जोन, राइट. नॉर्थ फ्रिजिड जोन की हम बात करेंगे तो नॉर्थ फ्रिजिड जोन लाइज बिटवीन द आर्कटिक सर्कल एंड द नॉर्थ पोल. देखो क्लियर, आर्कटिक सर्कल और नॉर्थ पोल में है. और अगर हम साउथ फ्रिजिड जोन की बात करें अंटार्कटिक सर्कल एंड साउथ पोल के बीच में. क्लियर. सो द टिल्ट ऑफ द अर्थ एक्स मेक इट इम्पॉसिबल फॉर द स्लैंटिंग रेज ऑफ द सन टू रीच बियॉन्ड द आर्कटिक एंड अंटार्कटिक सर्कल. Therefore, that is the coldest zone. Which is the coldest zone? We studied about torrid zone, temperate zone, and frigid zone. Which is the coldest zone? The frigid zone. Now you have to remember this. This is very important. Easy also. Studied about the latitude. We studied about the zones. Now let's come to longitude. This is very interesting. Now we have studied about latitude. Now longitude, which is running from north to south. Like the equator, an imaginary line also divides the earth into eastern and western hemisphere. तो एक लाइन होती है जो उसको ईस्ट और वेस्ट हेमिस्फीयर में डिवाइड करती है. इस लाइन को हम प्राइम मेरिडियन कहते हैं. ये द लॉन्गिट्यूड पासिंग थ्रू ग्रीनविच ऑब्जर्वेटरी नियर लंदन हैज बीन सिलेक्टेड एज प्राइम मेरिडियन. इसकी वैल्यू होती है 0 डिग्री, राइट. द एरिया लाइन टू द ईस्ट ऑफ द प्राइम मेरिडियन इज कॉल्ड द ईस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर. द एरिया लाइन टू द वेस्ट ऑफ द प्राइम मेरिडियन इज द वेस्टर्न हेमिस्फीयर. Equator is the starting point of latitude while the Greenwich meridian is the starting point for longitude. Word meridian का मतलब होता है midway. Meridian का मतलब क्या होता है? Midway. A meridian is a line joining places which have their noon at the same time. So meridian में noon same time पर होगा. The longitude of a place and therefore we define as the distance of that place east or west of the meridian of Greenwich measured at an angle. हमने latitude पढ़ा. अब longitude क्या होगा? It is defined as the distance of that place ईस्ट और वेस्ट ऑफ द मेरिडियन. सो हम बात करते हैं लॉन्गिट्यूड में डिस्टेंस ऑफ दैट प्लेस ईस्ट और वेस्ट ऑफ द मेरिडियन ऑफ ग्रीनविच इज मेजर्ड एट एन एंगल इज कॉल्ड एज लॉन्गिट्यूड. द मेरिडियन एंड लॉन्गिट्यूड आर ड्रॉन ज्वाइनिंग द 2 पोल्स थ्रू 360 डिवीजन. अगर हम मेरिडियंस को देखें ना तो इन 2 पोल्स को ज्वाइन करके मेरिडियंस बनेंगे. ईच डिवीजन शोज 1 डिग्री. हर एक डिवीजन में कितना है? 1 डिग्री. तो कितनी लाइंस होंगी? 360 लाइंस व्हिच आर डिवाइडेड इन 2 ग्रुप्स, so 180 lines. So 180 degrees of longitude to east and 180 degrees to the west of Greenwich. The 180th line is the only line which is known as international date line. This is very important. So international date line कौन सी होती है? 180th line होती है आपकी. Then how do I find the location using this longitude? To find the exact location of a place on the surface of the earth, we need both the lines of longitude and latitude. सिर्फ एक से नहीं चलेगा. We need to know this. Suppose हमें क्या करना है? Mumbai is on 118 degree 55 north latitude and 72 degree 54 east longitude. The point where they intersect is the exact location of point. अगर हम देखें जिस जगह पे कोई यहाँ पे intersect करता है, that is the actual location of that point. So अगर हमें longitude to latitude पता है तो हमें exact location पता चल जाएगी because the distance will be the angular distance will help us to find the location in degrees, right? So longitudes are related to time. The sun regularly rises and sets every day. Naturally, it is the best timekeeper throughout the world. When the prime meridian of Greenwich has the sun at the highest point in the sky, all the places along this meridian have the midday or noon, right? The earth rotates from west to east through 360 degrees in 24 hours. So the sun appears to move from east to west at the rate of 15 degrees in 1 hour in 4 minutes. So places located east of Greenwich will be ahead of Greenwich time, and those to the west will be behind it. So then when it is 12 noon at Greenwich, the time at 15 degrees east of Greenwich will be 60 minutes. That is 1 hour ahead of Greenwich, which means 1 p.m. But at 15 degrees west of Greenwich, it will be 11 a.m. Similarly, at 180 degree, it will be midnight when it is 12 noon at Greenwich. तो ये जो टाइम है ये वेरी करता है, सो वी हैव टू डिराइव अ स्टैंडर्ड टाइम फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर प्लेस. लोकल टाइम जो होता है वो टाइम हम कैसे निकालते हैं? वी डिराइव दैट टाइम विद रेफरेंस टू सन व्हेन द सन इज ओवरहेड और क्रॉसिंग द मेरिडियन. But the sun cannot be overhead 2 meridians at one time, so we do not follow local time because it would be very inconvenient when traveling from one place to another in the east-west or west-east direction. So local time is basically dependent on the direction of the sun, right? The movement of the sun. But we cannot consider this as an international way of using this, because it will be very difficult when we are traveling from one place to another. So we have to have a standard way of deciding the time. एग्जाम्पल जैसे लेते हैं कि अगर एक पर्सन कोलकाता से जा रहा है एट नून एट ऑन मंडे एंड ट्रैवल्स वेस्टवर्ड फास्ट इनफ टू कीप अप द सन, so he travels 15 degree in 1 hour. At the end of 24 hours he would be have encircled the globe. Wherever he happens, he has on the trip, it would be noon. This would lead to endless confusion. इस करके हमने जो है local time which is basis on some, we are not going to adopt that as standard methodology to calculate time. We'll definitely have standard time. Now what is standard time? SI means the time that is fixed according to rule or a norm. The local time it is different at different meridians. Local time different meridians में different होगा and be difficult to follow the local time. For example, if it is difficult to prepare a timetable for trains that cross several longitudes, अगर हमें टाइम टेबल बनाना है एक ट्रेन का एक जगह से दूसरी जगह पास करे, अगर वो लोकल टाइम के बेसिस पे होगा तो टाइम डिविजन नहीं हो सकता. इन इंडिया में भी बहुत डिफरेंस है. अगर हम देखें ईस्टर्न पास जो है अरुणाचल प्रदेश का और जो गुजरात का वेस्टर्न पार्ट है, इसके अंदर ही 2 आवर्स का डिफरेंस है. इस करके कि कोई भी कंफ्यूजन ना हो तो एक स्टैंडर्ड टाइम सेट दिया गया था. इन इंडिया द लॉन्गिट्यूड ऑफ 82 degree 30 east is considered as a standard meridian. This is very very important. So standard meridian क्या है? 82 degree 30 east is your standard meridian. The local time at this meridian is taken as a standard time for the whole country, which is known as Indian Standard Time. और ये आपका Indian Standard Time है. The difference between the Indian Standard Time and the Greenwich Mean Time is 5.5 hours. So इसमें जो difference है वो 5.5 hours का रहता है. Then let's talk about the time zone of the world. International Congress held in 1884 in Washington, USA, considered the subject of World Standard Time. Consequently, the world was divided into 24 zones. World में कितने time zones हैं? 24 zones हैं. हर एक of 1 hour each. Each zone covers 15 degree of longitude. This is again very important. The large countries which have a large east-west extent have more than one time zone. A time zone is a region covering 15 degree of longitude and which takes 1 hour to pass in front of the sun. तो time zone क्या है? एक region है जिस जो cover कितना करता है 15 degree of longitude and it takes 1 hour to pass in front of the sun. So Russia, which separates over 170 degrees, has 11 time zones, and USA has 4 time zones. And now Russia is like spread on a vast level, so it has 11 time zones. If we talk of the complete time zones, we have 24 time zones, right? And Russia has 11 time zones. How many time zones Russia has? It has 11 time zones. Now the local time of the places which are on the different meridians are bound to differ. Now let's come to the international date line. The international date line fixed by an international agreement is an imaginary line along with the 180 meridian extending from pole to pole. It marks the places on the Earth's surface where each new date first begins. So this is about the international date time. So we have studied about the longitude, we have studied about the latitude, we have studied prime meridian, equator and the poles. Now immediately rush to the question and answers. Now assess yourself, pick the correct answer. The network of latitude and meridians together form the Earth grid, right? The Tropic of Cancer is located on 23.5 degree north latitude. The widest heat zone is torrid zone. The Earth rotates on its axis. Prime meridian is located on 0 degree. The 180th line is the only one line and it is known as international date line. Now let's come to true false. 82 degree 30 east is selected as the standard meridian in India. Correct. The meridians of longitudes have 370 lines. No. 360 lines. Each time zone cover 15 degree of latitude. Longitude, sorry. Yes. The north temperate zone lies between Arctic Circle and the North Frizz zone. No. Then in the southern hemisphere, the parallel 23.5 degrees south is called Tropic of Capricorn. That's correct, right? Now that divides the earth into northern and southern hemisphere. That's your equator. 66.5 degrees south is known as your Antarctic Circle. Indian Standard Time refers to located on 82 degree 30 degree longitude. Then the earth is divided how many time zones? I recently covered, that is 24 time zones, and Russia has 11 time zones. Is it clear? Now let's move to matching the column. Now Antarctic Circle, if we talk of Antarctic Circle, this is 66.5 degree south. If we talk of Indian Standard Time, it is 82 degree 30 east. Then we talk of Arctic Circle. Arctic Circle is 66.5 degree north. International date line is 180 degree. If we talk of Tropic of Cancer, 23.5 degree north. If we talk of Greenwich Mean Time, it is 0 degree. Right? Clear? Now, let us come to the question answers. What do you mean by Indian Standard Time? The time fixed by the government, as with the time fixed by the government is the Indian Standard Time. Now here, this Indian Standard Time has been fixed because to avoid confusion, because there are confusion said if we talk of the local time and the Indian Standard Time. So Indian Standard Time is 82 degree 30 east is the Indian Standard Time. What do you understand by time zone? Time zone is a region in which it covers 15 degree longitude, and if we talk of time zone, it takes 1 hour to pass in front of the sun. Then what is the use of latitude? When we study the latitude, we are able to find the climate of that place. We are able to study the animal species and the plant species of that place. We are able to find the location. So, what is the significance of equator? Equator divides the earth into two equal halves, the northern part and the southern part. Why is prime meridian important? Prime meridian is important because prime meridian separates the southern hemisphere, the western hemisphere and the eastern hemisphere. It is 0 degree longitude. Now let's come to the question answers in detail. Give details about the lines of latitude. We have studied about lines of latitude. We have studied that along with equator, we have Tropic of Cancer, we have Tropic of Capricorn, we have the Arctic Circle, and we have the Antarctic Circle, which are considered in the lines of latitude. In Tropic of Cancer, it is a parallel of 23.5 degree north. Tropic of Capricorn, 23.5 degree south. If we talk of our Arctic Circle, it is parallel of 66.5 degree north. And if we study about the Antarctic Circle, which is 66.5 degrees south. Then explain how can we locate on the place with the help of lines of longitude and latitude. Here we have to locate a place basis on the longitude and the latitude. So latitude and longitudes, they are the imaginary lines on the globe. To locate a place basis on longitude and latitude, we are able to find the angular distance at which they intersect, and we are able to calculate the exact point on the globe which comes in the degrees, right? Then describe the heat zone of the earth with the help of diagram. If we go and see the diagram, if we talk of the heat zone, we have studied the heat zone. The heat zones, we have studied about the heat zone that we studied that we have torrid zone, we have the temperate zone, and we have the frigid zone. The torrid zone, this is the diagram which we are going to follow. The torrid zone, it stretches between the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. This is the widest zone, and we have studied that sun is overhead and most of the India lies in this. If we talk of temperate zone, it lies between the frigid zone and the torrid zone. If we talk, and here the sun is slanting, and we talk of frigid zone, it has two parts, the north frigid zone and the south frigid zone. The north frigid zone lies between the North Pole and Arctic Circle, and the south frigid zone lies between the Antarctic Circle and the South Pole, and here it is the coldest zone. This we have studied in detail. Now let's come to the next question. The next question is, why has 82 degree 30 east longitude has been selected as the standard meridian of India? If you see the last page, we have studied that when this is taken as the standard meridian of India because there's a difference of 2 hours between the easternmost point of Arunachal Pradesh and the western point of Gujarat. That is why we have considered 82 degree 30 east as the standard meridian of India. This avoids the confusion because if we adopt local time as the standard way to describe, it will be creating a lot of confusions. Then, what is the difference between the local time and the standard time? The local time is based on the movement of the sun. So, we cannot take this as the standard way of measuring time because it will create confusion. If we talk of standard time, it is 82 degree 30 inches east. Why? Because we have to have a standard time to describe a time which avoids creating confusion. What is the difference between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn? The parallels of 23 degree and 23 and a half degree north is Tropic of Cancer. This place, if we talk of this place, sun is vertically on 21st June, and Tropic of Capricorn is 23 and the parallels of 23 and a half degrees south. Here we talked of winter solstice, which is on 22nd December. So this is what we have studied in the entire chapter. I hope you are clear with the lines of latitude, lines of longitude, how we are going to find the exact position on the globe, how we are going to find the heat zones, how we are going to derive the time using the local time, and what is the difference between local time and the international time. So I hope you enjoyed learning. Happy learning.